Hello viewers, Matt VidPro here, and GPT-4 released. How exciting is that? I know this doesn't look at all like my typical setup because it's not. I currently don't have any power at all at my house or internet, so I had to travel somewhere to record this. And yeah, I'm on a laptop with like a junky webcam, and this is the best I can do right now. I'm literally recording audio on my iPhone. So yeah, we're going to do our best to cover GPT-4 today. I'm still going to make this as good as possible for you guys, as good of a video as I can. We're going to talk about all the different capabilities of GPT-4 and really what it's all about. There's a lot to talk about, and it's very, very exciting. So let's get right on into this. So guys, as you can see, this is OpenAI's GPT-4 landing page. This is where they kind of announced everything. They also announced things on Twitter, and a lot of people on Twitter have been discussing GPT-4 and all of its capabilities. So we're going to be getting into that as well, talking about all of the new stuff it can do. So if you're looking for the TLDR, GPT-4 is the best language model to date, and it's not just a language model, we'll get into that as well. It can actually accept and read images. It kind of has eyes now, which is really crazy to think about, so we'll take a look at that later. They essentially redesigned GPT-4 from the ground up. It actually exhibits human-level performance on a lot of academic benchmarks, which are kind of human benchmarks when you think about it. And this was a really, really impressive example. They did a simulated bar exam, basically had GPT-4 take the bar exam, which, if you guys don't know, is essentially what you need to take in order to practice law. It's a very difficult exam. The old GPT 3.5 scored in the bottom 10% of test takers, and now GPT-4 is able to score in the top 10%. So that means out of 100 people that took the test, GPT-4 is in that top 10 people. So this was obviously all based on factuality, steerability, refusing to go outside the guardrails. They fixed certain bugs that were in the old GPT 3.5, and apparently when they first tested GPT-4, it was unprecedentedly stable. Basically, the first large language model that's training performance was actually able to be predicted before it happened. Basically, this means that when they tested the original GPT-3, GPT-2, and all those older models, those models were far worse than they anticipated them to be when they first tested them. GPT-4 was actually better than they expected when they first tested it out. If you have ChatGPT Plus, you can already access GPT-4, which is really, really exciting. It's not the full GPT-4. It can't accept all of the new token limits, and it also can't accept images yet on ChatGPT, but technically you can play around with it. If you also have access to the Bing AI is also using a new fine-tuned version of GPT-4, and again, that one also can't accept images, but both of them are now GPT-4. So if you want to test it out, those are your two locations to do so. They're also releasing a GPT-4 API with a waitlist as well. So if you're a developer and you're looking to use GPT-4, you can get on that waitlist. And yes, I did mention, by the way, guys, that GPT-4 can accept far more tokens than GPT 3.5. So if you don't know what that means, essentially the older GPT 3.5 can only accept 4,000 tokens, and that's about 4,000 words, we could say. So not really that much. 25,000 is the limit with GPT-4, which is far, far more than what GPT 3.5 could do, and actually was one of the biggest weaknesses of that older GPT 3.5 model. And when you first test out GPT-4, the difference can actually be real subtle in something like casual conversation, because that's not really pushing the model very hard. It's already giving you perfect answers, we could say. The differences really come out when the complexity of the task at hand changes. So OpenAI says that GPT-4 is more reliable consistently, more creative consistently, and is actually able to handle a lot more nuanced, complicated instructions than GPT 3.5. And I actually knew that there were some pretty hard set limits with GPT 3.5, so I'm very excited to really delve into GPT-4 and to test out those hard limits and see what it's capable of. So when we look at this graph here, we can see there's a bunch of different tests at the bottom. This blue marker here is GPT 3.5, and it still did very, very well. But all of these green marks here are where GPT-4 did much better, and the dark green marks are where GPT-4 did even better with imagery capabilities enabled. So this is when it was actually able to look at what it was being presented. And you can see that the darker marks here actually boost up quite a bit, so that extra vision capability is really helping GPT-4 in a lot of cases get better scores. In some cases, it still wasn't any better than GPT-3, but in almost every single test here, it was better than GPT 3.5. So that's very exciting to see. And in a lot of them, it's a lot better. Like in this one, for example, it got on 100%, where originally GPT 3.5 was only like 35%, for example. And you'll also find that GPT-4 is much better with multilingual stuff. So it's actually better at speaking in different languages. And as you can see from all the green bars here, it just absolutely crushes all of these various languages. So it can actually accept text like the classic GPT 3.5 and also image uploads. And we don't have access to this function yet, but it will be demonstrated in a little bit when I show you guys some of the different things people are messing around with this. So it only generates text outputs. This is, natural language or code, for example, but the given inputs, of course, can be text and images interdispersed in between each other. It can take documents, text, photographs, diagrams, screenshots, and it really enhances the chain of thought prompting that you can do with this, where you can problem solve essentially with it. And we saw a lot of that with ChatGPT. So here's a nice little example of the visual inputs, and they have a bunch of samples here on the page. And the user goes, what is funny about the specific image? Describe it panel by panel. And the output here, essentially what's funny about this image is that there's an Apple charger that is being encased in this old VGA connector. So it kind of looks funny, and it looks like you're plugging your phone into this very old style connector, and that's what's weird about it. GPT-4 goes, the image shows a package for a lightning cable adapter with 3 panels. Panel 1, a smartphone with a VGA connector, a large, explains what a VGA connector is, and then is plugged into the charging port. The package for the lightning cable adapter with a VGA connector on it, which is pretty accurate to what that second image is. And then panel 3, a close-up of the VGA connector with a small lightning connector used for charging iPhones and other Apple devices at the end. And it actually understands the full humor of this. The humor in this image comes from the absurdity of plugging a large, outdated VGA connector into a small, modern smartphone charging port. And it perfectly understood this joke here. So this is, of course, something GPT 3.5 would never have been able to do because it can't understand images, but yeah, this is some scary stuff. GPT-4 actually has eyes now. We can see the next sample here, and it's really fully doing what essentially is a homework question in this one. So really crazy results. We've got some more homework style questions. This time it appears to be in French, and it actually responds and does the homework in English. So not only is it translating and reading this image here, it's actually able to give us the correct answer in English. So this is another funny little meme, we could call it, or just a funny image. It says, what is unusual about this image? And clearly this is just a guy ironing, essentially attached to the back of a car, which is very strange. And GPT-4 goes, the unusual thing about this image is that a man is ironing clothes on an ironing board attached to the roof of a moving taxi, which is, pretty accurate, I would say, to what this image is representing. Here, it's able to analyze portions of entire research papers too, and give us summaries, which is pretty awesome. You don't even need to copy and paste text in it now. You can just give it the image of the paper, and it's able to read the text. We have another straight up meme. It literally says, can you explain this meme? Sometimes I just look at pictures of the Earth from space and marvel at how beautiful it is, and it's actually just pictures of chicken, and it fully understands the joke here. This meme is a joke that combines two unrelated things, pictures of the Earth from space and chicken nuggets. The text of the meme suggests that the image below is a beautiful picture of the Earth from space. However, the image is actually of chicken nuggets arranged to vaguely resemble a map of the world. That's exactly what it is. The humor of this meme comes from the unexpected juxtaposition of the text and the image. The text sets up an expectation of a majestic image of the Earth, but the image is actually something mundane and silly. So yeah, it's completely able to understand humor, and that's something robots really have never been able to do before. We are making some crazy advances in AI technology. This is just mind-blowing stuff. I can't believe we can't use this yet, but we have more memes here. Can you explain why this is funny? Think it out step by step. And this is a pretty complex joke here, and I can't understand this because I'm not a coder and I don't know that much about neural networks. I really kind of just marvel at them more or less. But yeah, GPT-4 knows more than me. It's apparently satirizing the difference in approaches to improving model performance between statistical learning and neural networks. Wow, that is so complicated. It's incredible that it's able to pick up such complex topics. GPT-4 is definitely more than a step above GPT 3.5. In statistical learning, it actually goes on to a further explanation here. The character is shown to be concerned with overfitting and suggests a series of complex and technical solutions, such as minimizing structural risk, reworking the loss function, and using a soft margin. In contrast, the neural network's character simply suggests that adding more layers to the model is the best result. This often is seen as a common solution to improving the performance in neural networks, but it's also considered a simplistic and brute force approach, essentially not really the best approach. And that's sort of why it's funny. The humor comes from the contrast between the complexity and specificity of the statistical learning approach and the simplicity and generality of approaching neural networks. The unironical comment adds to the humor by implying that despite being simplistic, the stack more layers approach is often effective in practice. Wow, that is a pretty complex dive into this pretty complex joke, and the fact that it's able to understand that, and a lot of people that I think we meet on a day-to-day basis really wouldn't be able to understand this complex joke at all, is really telling. This thing is it's already smarter than humans, let's be honest, and that's scary and exciting at the same time. So they've also been working on making GPT-4 more steerable. This essentially means that instead of being like this basic AI verbose tone, you can actually steer it to become whatever you want. Speak like an actual robot from a sci-fi movie or something like that. You could basically tell it to become whatever you want instead of being just that basic robotic ChatGPT AI. And this is basically done through these system messages, which allow the API to significantly customize the user experience within the bounds of what OpenAI wants you to do. I'm sure people are going to be jailbreaking GPT-4 though, and probably already have. We've already seen this technology before. This really isn't as new. Character.ai, for example, does this in depth, and so does InWorld.ai with their character creators. So this is some cool technology, and I'm glad to see that they're trying to support this in their GPT-4 model. It's also supported in GPT 3.5, although it doesn't seem to be as good. But yeah, this is some tech we've already seen before, but it's really cool to be seeing it supported. So despite the capabilities, GPT-4 still has some limitations, which, I mean, of course, it's not going to be completely perfect. It still makes reasoning errors, unfortunately, and they say great care should be taken when using language model outputs. Just don't take them at complete fact, and I always agree with that statement. Don't just believe the thing no matter what, even though it is very useful and it's getting much, much more accurate than even the previous ones were. It still can mess up, and they give you some factual evaluations here so you can compare. Although GPT-4 is far more factual on average than the older ChatGPT models. As you can see, it's much, much more accurate, but it only falls around 60% still, which is a little concerning. The problem with these models is they always are able to make things seem very, very accurate, even though they might actually be completely false. So you just kind of believe it. It can even probably come up with the reasons behind it. They actually do some early GPT-4 comparisons to the final GPT-4 comparisons as well, which are pretty interesting. But yeah, the paper goes on to the training process and other stuff like that, and I'll link it down below if you guys are really interested in delving into the technicals of this all. But yeah, let's take a look at some results and some really fascinating stuff that GPT-4 has been doing, already being out for like a day. So yesterday, GPT-4 also had this developer live stream that OpenAI hosted. It's only about 25 minutes long. I will link this down below so you guys can take a look at it, but essentially just sort of tests out the model, uses it to write a bunch of code here. For me, the most impressive portion of this is when it's actually able to take submitted images, and GPT-4, in the form of a Discord bot, funny enough, in this, is able to describe this image. So they input this DALL-E 2 generated image, and GPT-4 goes, "This image depicts an astronaut exploring a snowy mountainous landscape on an alien planet. In the background, we see a large spacecraft that is resting on a snow-covered ground with its antennas and various equipment. The sky above is filled with stars, and a celestial body can be seen in the distance. The astronaut appears to be wearing a green spacesuit and is captured in motion, perhaps making his way towards the spacecraft." And as we can see, I mean, it's a little hard to tell. I know the low resolution and all that. I'm really doing my best with the limited supplies I have for you guys today. But yeah, that really does appear to be what that user-generated DALL-E 2 image is. So it's able to accurately describe the image. It really, really does have eyes, and I really think that's going to increase the capability of this model by tenfold. I mean, you're going to be able to do some really amazing stuff with this. I'm not sure how fast it can process this stuff, but webcam capability and stuff like that, where you can hold up objects or just send it pictures from your phone, and it's gonna be crazy technology we're going to see coming out in this past year using GPT-4. It's really, really going to be that backbone model, I think, that powers so much cool AI technology and so many cool little AI applications in the future. We also do another one. This one's a little bit easier for you guys to see. And they ask what's funny about this particular image. GPT-4 goes, "This image is funny because it shows a squirrel holding a camera and taking a photo of a nut as if it were a professional photographer. It's a humorous situation because squirrels typically eat nuts and we don't expect them to use a camera or act like humans." And yeah, that's a pretty accurate description. And it's also able to understand the image pretty well. So in this demo here, this is probably the one that you've seen floating around the most. He essentially takes a photo of his notebook here in which he has instructions to actually create a website, and he takes a picture on his phone and then uploads it to the bot, and the bot goes and actually generates the website just based off the picture in the notebook. How insane is that? Really bringing ideas to life, just simple. So he goes, takes the picture there, uploads it, and he goes, "Write a brief HTML to turn this mock-up into an actual website here." And he goes and pastes the code that it generates in, and it goes ahead and actually creates a full functional website. And yeah, there's all the code that it generates. It's very simple stuff, but that's not very good handwriting at all. I can't believe it's actually able to pick up what is supposed to happen in that website just based off of this really, really poorly drawn mock-up. And there's also the thing to note here that the structure of the website is actually laid out here in this as well. So it's picking up on where things should be based off of where they are in the actual image itself. So really, really crazy stuff. So it's also able to transform itself in this demo as well into Tax GPT to help you do your taxes and carefully read and apply tax code and stuff like that. So yeah, again, that's showing off that steerability where you're able to turn it into a specific model. It's kind of like one model to rule them all. You can think, oh, become Tax GPT and do my taxes, or can you become Mechanic GPT and help me figure out what's wrong with my car? So you can turn this into any kind of helpful tool you want. It's really the ultimate Swiss Army knife in a lot of ways. Really, really awesome technology, super exciting. So yes, I am not going to cover everything in this little 25-minute demo. I will link it down below if you guys want to take a look at it though, and I suggest you do because it's pretty awesome. Alright, so in my opinion, Twitter has shown the best of the best in terms of demos and really cool little tricks that people have been doing with GPT-4, so we're going to go over a ton of different Twitter threads. I'm trying to give credit here to everyone who originally created these threads here, so make sure to follow all these people that I mentioned in today's video if you want the latest and greatest in AI news. The first one's from Elvis here, Omar Sar 0. Lots of tweets about GPT-4 in the past 8 hours. Here's a thread highlighting some of the interesting examples, tricks, and discussions that he's come across so far. So we're already seeing companies integrate here with GPT-4. Here's Duolingo essentially already saying that they're going to be applying GPT-4 AI into their application. And, you know, that's greatly going to increase their productivity inside the app. Here is the web page that was generated entirely from that just basic notebook scrap sketch. Poe is also going to be including GPT-4 capabilities, and this is an app that you can download for your phone that's essentially a bunch of different chatbots based off of OpenAI technology and a few others. So yeah, GPT-4 is coming to this app as well. This one was really incredible as well. This is GPT-4 in science, and this is in particular for drug discovery. Essentially, what happens here, you're able to give GPT-4 a current drug, and it's able to find the compounds with similar properties to that drug and modify them to make sure that it's not a patented drug by another company. And it actually even helps you purchase them from suppliers, which is very, very crazy. And this includes sending an email with a purchase order inside it. And there is the example of that right here. So yeah, pretty crazy stuff as well. Able to identify the different drug compounds. It's like a chemist. Absolutely insane capabilities. So this app is also going to be using GPT-4 to create a visual assistant, essentially able to tell you different things about images you send. Instantaneous visual assistance in real time. One application that actually comes to mind for me is people that have blindness. You can actually just sort of hold out your phone, and that's exactly what's being shown in this demo, by the way, where it's able to read things for you, tell you what things look like, tell you what people look like even. It's already going to be empowering people who are blind here and empowering people who aren't as well. It's really, really one model to rule them all. That's what it feels like. And again, we're also seeing another mention here for GPT-4 powering that Bing search, which I can't wait to test out at home when I actually have electricity and internet again. We've also got it being applied to Khan Academy and education here, of course. I think that the implications are massive for education, and it's really going to help us rebuild up our education system in some ways. At least here in America, the education system definitely could use some work. So this is going to be really awesome for that as well. And of course, coding capabilities, can't forget about that as well. Coding is going to be huge. Lawsuits and lawyers as well. If people can't really afford lawyers, very expensive thing, they can go to GPT-4 and essentially help them with small little lawsuits. Maybe they could even defend themselves or have the GPT-5 or 4, whatever, defend them. An actual robot defense attorney. So here's an example of GPT-4 coding an entire game, which is crazy. So essentially, this thing created the whole basic classic Snake game. It's a very basic game, but it did it with zero knowledge of JavaScript in less than 20 minutes, and it did a pretty good job here. It's a fully working Snake game that you can play in your browser. Here is a quick test of GPT-4's reasoning skills. Basically tested GPT-4 in a bunch of logic, math, and code, and there are very clear differences between GPT 3.5 and 4, and you can sort of see these images below in these examples. I will link all of this down below for you people, just trying to provide you with as many resources as physically possible. Heather Cooper here used GPT-4 to essentially create this entire Twitter thread in like 2 minutes, which is really, really cool. Prepare to have your mind blown. Groundbreaking tech is changing everything. Remember, this whole thing is generated by GPT-4, introducing GPT-4 language model that's transforming the way we communicate, work, and play. A personal assistant that can write emails, answer questions, craft poetry. GPT-4's got you covered. GPT-4 can play chess, Go, and some video games. And this thing can see, so it's actually going to be able to play games here. Young professionals, GPT-4 can help with sales pitches, customer service, team management, boost your career. Studying got a whole lot easier. GPT-4 is essentially an entire tutor for math, science, and more. Essentially anything you want, really. Say goodbye to late night cram sessions. Again, this whole thread was generated by GPT-4. So cool. Want to travel or connect with people from other cultures? GPT-4 can understand and translate 100 plus languages. Again, we talked about that earlier. Insane language capabilities. DataChaz GPT also was able to show us that GPT-4 might actually be able to scrape websites now. And it's actually shown getting text from a specific Wikipedia page and actually outputting a description of what that page has inside it. So it's actually able to scrape websites, potentially technically using Bing. With GPT-4, you could scrape websites, but this is sort of showing that it might have the potential to just do it in the actual API, which is exciting. Here's another Pong game created with GPT-4 in about 60 seconds, which is crazy. This is the first try. So yeah, it actually recreated that classic first video game ever almost, which is Pong. And it did it in 60 seconds, which is crazy. I've actually tried to use GPT-3 to create Pong before, and it would not do it. So yeah, this is a step up. It's able to do things that GPT 3.5 could never dream of. And yeah, absolutely incredible technology. It makes me so excited. I can't wait to test it for myself. And it's a fully working Pong game where you can control it for yourself as well, and it kind of looks like it could be a tough competitor in that Pong world. Here's another thread here by Linus Ekenstam, essentially generating lawsuits in one click to sue robocallers for $1,500. That's really, really cool and kind of an honorable thing when you think about it. Here is yet another example of a game being generated in just minutes. Essentially, this is a first try with no errors, and this is a full Connect 4 game, which feels kind of like a complicated game. I don't know about you guys, but GPT 3.5 couldn't do Pong, and this thing's doing Connect 4 off its first try. Really, really impressive tech. So here's DataChaz also giving us the announcement here of Google Workspace. Basically, Google on the same day, classically, is announcing their own different AI competitor. Your whole Google Cloud Suite essentially will be AI enhanced. This sort of is more of a topic to cover for another video, but I just thought I would mention it here really quick. This is something that is going to be coming to Google, and they're trying to compete with OpenAI, but it ain't no GPT-4 language model, that is for sure. Still some exciting stuff. Need to look more into this, but just know that this was announced. So yes, folks, sorry for the poor video quality, sorry for the lackluster audio quality, and essentially everything else. I'm really trying my best here. No internet, no power at my house. I have to travel to a different location and really try my best for you guys to record this video covering as much as I can on the coolest things going on with GPT-4 and how you can access it and all that. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was at least serviceable. Our regularly scheduled uploads should be coming momentarily once things get a little bit sorted out. But yeah, essentially, huge snowstorm happened and I had to do things this way. But hopefully this video was still as good as possible for you viewers at home. And yeah, I'll be seeing you guys in the next one. Like the video, subscribe and all that if you want to support the channel. And yeah, join the Discord for the latest in AI news and to stay updated with the channel and everything else. Thanks so much for watching, and I will be seeing you viewers next time. Goodbye.